good afternoon. I'm Adam Blair. I'm the editor of Retail Touchpoints. I'm here with Glenn Taylor, our senior editor, and Alicia Esposito, our content strategist. We're here on the third and final day of NRF 2020, and we're sharing some of our insights about what the big themes have been for the show. So, Alicia, I thought we'd start with you. I understand you've been hearing a lot from people about adding purpose to technologies and also jobs. So why don't you share on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the overarching trend that's been connecting a lot of the subtopics, sub-themes, is this whole notion of being a purpose-driven organization. So better connecting to customers and employees in the values, the ethics, the missions that carry through in their day-to-day lives, and what does that mean to the brand, to the business, and how does that relate to their core mission, whether it's products or services. So I think just in this current environment that we're in, consumers want brands to stand for something. It's not something that you can just shy away from or just not say anything. I think in terms of the purchase process, mission and values are becoming more of a consideration, especially for Gen Z. So I think as far as the overarching trend for this event, and hopefully for 2020, brands are going to be thinking more strategically about what do we stand for, what makes sense for our business, and how does that carry through into the tribe of consumers that we want to create, and how do we create an experience around that across channels, especially stores. Stores are really being spotlighted as hubs for those tribes, those community experiences. So I think that's going to be more of a strategic center point, even in the technology decisions that companies are going to be making. It's not going to be what's the new hot thing that will get us into headlines and get us some VC dollars, because I think VCs are even getting more critical of the space after a few mistakes along the way. So even in the tech discussions, I think it's around the practical applications and how does that parlay into that bigger mission.
Okay. Gotcha. Why don't you go, Glenn? I think you were going to talk about employment and the workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this ties in very well, Alicia, with what you were bringing up earlier about the idea of purpose, because when we think of retail employees, they really are the backbone of the retail store environment. I mean, these are people that come in every day. They're working with consumers. You never know how they're going to be as far as dealing with people that come in, asking questions, temperament and all that. So you really have to support them. And I think one of the best themes about NRF this year was the idea of having these employees be more empowered, be more given the opportunity to succeed. There was a great keynote yesterday from the Walmart US CEO, John Furner, as well as MIT professor Zeynep Tun, who both spoke about the idea of what it takes to improve retail jobs. In the case of Walmart, this is something that they've obviously been fighting for years now as far as reputation. What was great to hear about their new US CEO was he's implementing practices from Sam's Club. And while they were known a little bit for their pay wages, what made it better was they implemented things like predictive scheduling, which a lot of people have been talking about. A lot of solution providers on this floor have been putting together platforms related to that. Also, even the Ask Sam app, which was interesting to me because it was something where, once again, associates are more empowered to ask questions. They're being told they can ask questions. They're not being scared of, maybe if I don't know where something is, a manager might not be too thrilled about that I'm not as educated on the subject. And just the idea there that clearly there is going to be more movement going ahead with this. Clearly there is more investment in these employees. Retailers know this. Yeah. They know that their stores have to, in order to really become good stores, they need the employees to be happy and to be working at the best way they possibly can. Right. And I think the best part of the theme was that Zeynep Tun, the MIT professor I referred to earlier, pointed out at the very end, while this was initially about how retail jobs are good jobs, she pointed out that the title of that session was changed to Why Retail Jobs Can Be Good Jobs. Right. And that was important because there's still so much progress that needs to be made, and this is something that clearly has to be improved on, and there's a lot of companies that still have a lot of work to do. And I just thought that was something that needs to really be harped on for a lot of the people in attendance going forward.
Yeah. It was put into the conditional. They can be, but there's a ways to go. And I think that's also an outgrowth of We're at record low unemployment.
Right.
Minimum wage laws are going into effect in different areas. Retailers are going to need the best people that they can get to be manning their stores, because they can't just toss people aside or say, oh, well, we're going to have this much turnover and that's the way it's going to go.
Right, and even like the legislation recently in states like New York with predictive scheduling and how we're having more mandates of that. So it's good to finally have more steps taken to ensure that this is going to happen.
They can get out ahead of it. If it's being done on a piecemeal basis, state by state, they can get ahead of it by being more national in scope.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I've been hearing a lot about also is related to purpose. There was a study recently that 71% of consumers, and this was a very broad, like multi-country consumer study, are willing to pay an added, an added premium for companies that are offering full transparency and traceability. And that has to do with things like the supply chain and sourcing and the sustainability of the supply chain. And what I've been hearing about that a lot. And also, to reflect your point, a more practical approach to it. It's not just, oh, it feels good, it's, we're a nice, friendly company, we do good things for people. It's actually putting metrics to it. What's your CO2 footprint? If you make this decision about sourcing it from this factory versus that factory, what does that do in terms of, the transport, the resources, the raw materials? And obviously it, ripples through the entire supply chain, and even a lot of it, I've been hearing about it, is about returns. I mean, retailers have a huge investment or would really like to lower the returns rate, but e-commerce keeps pushing them up. And there's another aspect to that. I even think I heard someone say it might be something where you could encourage consumers to return less because it's better for the environment to do so.
Right.
So to maybe get them thinking ahead of that. Obviously, it's a multi-headed problem that needs addressing, but I thought it was interesting that they were trying to put some real metrics and measurements to it, that both their stockholders and to some extent their employees and a growing number of consumers are actually going to demand that. They don't want just like nice puffy things. They want to actually hear what it's going to do.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, thanks so much, Glenn and Alicia, for sharing your viewpoints on this, and it's been a great show. It's been a really busy, exciting, exhausting show, but another NRF 2020, another NRF is in the books for 2020, so thanks everybody.